Greetings, comrades. My name is Gigantles, and okay. So, firstly, I want to apologize for not releasing my video, my video yesterday, and the reason why is because, as I told you before, I think I told you before, I had an examination, I had an assessment to do directly after my geology trip back. After I got back from Cornwall from my geology trip, I had a couple of weeks to work on it, and yeah, it was a strange type of assessment, and it resulted in me working effectively up to the hour of the deadline. Okay, so I finished it like a little bit more than an hour before, and then I handed it in. So I had to hand it in at midday today, which meant that after that I needed a break after that, and so I didn't manage to record and release a video in that time. I apologize for, which is why I'm doing it today. I don't have another assessment due until December the 8th, in which it's a 1,000. The last assessment, it was 2,000 words, 500 word questions relating to what we study in Cornwall. The next assessment is a 1,500 word literature review based upon climate and stuff, because that's the module I'm doing now. The module I just did part of an exam for that was like geodynamics, and what I'm doing now is oceans, climate, and I can't remember the third part. That's a good sign. Okay, the point is I got an assessment that's due in a couple months, so I've got some breather room, and that's what I'm going to just basically spend the rest of this weekend doing. I'm going to have some breathing time, because I was up to like 2 last night trying to finish this thing, because it wasn't just me trying to do the questions, but also because I knew that they'll end up marking my notebook, and so I was trying to go through all my notes, trying to make everything legible. So that was definitely, it was stressful, and by the end of it my book was like this thick. I mean, normally it's this thick, but I had so many papers folded up in it, it was this thick. I still hope I did enough work for that. Okay, that took 10 days to work on that 10 days to write that notebook, and then like 2 weeks editing it to make sure everything was fine. But there is a sense of accomplishment in finishing a long project like that, which I'm grateful for. So a few days ago, when I was looking through cult profiles and stuff, I saw this really strange, it was a typical art style, but it was one it was of images that I hadn't seen before. And it turns out that there was now Eastern Lightning cult style art based upon the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I was going, okay, and then I just blocked that from my groups and removed it and everything. A couple of days ago, I was going through a bunch of different cult pages, and I ended up finding a page called, let me guess, it was in Spanish. It was De Amor de Maria, and it was basically, they call itself the Catholic Church, and it was in Spanish, and it was effectively a cult-run page posing as a Marian devotion Catholic page. I know it gives the impression of it being a Catholic page, because there's a lot of stuff about the Blessed Virgin Mary, and it says it's a Catholic page, and it's a whole bunch of other things. But it's not just me talking who noticed that it wasn't actually Catholic. This page, it had a whole bunch of the typical Eastern Lightning cult art, which I'm sure if you've probably done investigation yourself, you probably know what type of style I'm talking about. There was a bunch of new art styles and a bunch of different ways they quoted things. Well, backgrounds for quotes and stuff that they used. And it was really angry because there were like 19,000 people following this page. So there were like possibly 19,000, probably less, hopefully there's less, of several thousand Catholics being misled into this page. And it made me really angry because, again, this, couldn't they even be honest about what they believe? Couldn't they just maybe pose as themselves instead of posing as another religion or another church to try and bring people into their own church? The level of dishonesty here is blinding. So I reported it to my friend who runs the Eastern Lightning cult page. Not the actual cult itself. The page is just called the Eastern Lightning cult. So I reported it to him, and he made a thing about it. And him and I've been discussing for a little while now, but we've both agreed that it's time to make a new how to spot Eastern Lightning cult members on Facebook video, because there's definitely been a lot of progress in terms of how we identify them. Some of our methods have been refined. We've got new art styles to bring in. We've got new ways of finding them. So what we're going to do is we're going to be compiling information, and I'm going to be making a video about it, in which I'll again point out how to identify these cultists and how to, more than just simple ways of finding them, but how to also in a sense, how to train yourself to better to spot them, because I know it could be it can be quite an extensive list on how to find these, or stuff that may not make sense at the time. But I will tell you this: if you've seen enough Eastern Lightning cult profiles, you will know how to spot them like that. I really hope that sounded well. I only just got decent at snapping fingers. There was this post by one of the by pro-life group I follow, okay? And what happened was, in this post, they basically they obviously said abortion was wrong and everything. There was obviously a lot of debate by people who followed the page and agreed with them, and then people who were trying to troll the page or just express their views and stuff. And what ended up happening was I got into this debate with this fiery person who... This debate wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. I think it lasted like 5 days or something. And the reason why was because when I was arguing with this woman, this was when I was in Cornwall, and the first 2.5 days, the first roughly 2 and 3 quarters of the days that I'd been there had terrible internet, so I could probably only answer her once in the morning and once in the evening. And then when I got to the second accommodation in Cornwall, then I was able to be on there and actually argue with her properly. And it was a very interesting debate, actually, even though she was very quick to resort to logical fallacies and stuff. This woman had confused the concepts of life and consciousness and brain activity. And so she said that the three were one and the same. So if you don't have brain activity, then you are not conscious and you are dead. And I found a very interesting report which basically said that was wrong. It was based on a medical report. And I want to do a video about that. I mean, again, this could be part of like my battle log series, but I want to do a video about that because I found it really interesting to even if she was on the losing side and just throwing logical fallacies and everything after a while, it was really interesting just to ponder exactly what makes us alive, and how that's not actually attached to our bodies, as in you can't cut off a piece of you and then you're not alive anymore. You are still alive, maybe not as strongly, but you are still alive. But that's effectively for this week. So we finished my exam. Cult page posing as Mary devotion in the Catholic Church. New Eastern Lightning, how to spot Eastern Lightning cult members coming out, and pro-choice arguments being refuted in my upcoming battle log series, so you guys can see how weak their case is, and sometimes the tactics and fallacies they use against us, which can be easily refuted. But otherwise, hopefully you guys have a good weekend, and I'll just get on to relaxing and not being lazy, but just not doing too much, because it's a bit exhausting to have to focus on like essay questions right after you come back from a 10-day trip which you trekked all over Cornwall. Okay, I will do my Cornwall series. It's just that the timing and stuff here has been a bit messed up because of these exams, but don't worry, everything should get back into order soon. Anyway, God bless you all. See you next video comments. Until then.